KURINJI Senior Secondary School, CBSE, Namakkal.
Successful result producing school in state every year.
Administered by the Board of Directors with over 35 years of experience in the teaching field.
Special attention on art, craft, music, dance, silambam, yoga, skating and karate.
Focus on Hindi Sabha and Spell Bee Olympiad exams.
Smart class for effective and innovative learning and well-furnished library.
Solitary importance on sports and games in state and national level.
WhatsApp facilities to know activities of students and school inside the campus.
Free bus for LKG to 8th standard.
Free, hygienic and nutritious food.
Neet, JEE, IIT coaching experts from Rajasthan and Andhra Pradesh along with our effective teachers.
Admission registration for classes LKG to +2.
KURINJI Education Institution, Kavetipatti, Namakkal. Admission in progress. CBSE, KG to 12, contact 9025895176. Metric 6 to 12, contact 9344567484. For online admission, log on to www.kurinjischoolnkl.in.
Hi students, good evening. Here in this video we will discuss about heart function. That heart function we have to use a proper word, that is a cardiac cycle. This cardiac cycle tells about how heart will pump the blood to different body parts, how it will receive. That only we seen. That means the previous videos heart we said about it is a cardiovascular system. It is a it containing the 4 chambers. In the upper chambers are receiving chambers, and then lower chambers ventricles are pumping chambers. How these and all chambers are receiving and pumping, these thing we want to know. So totally heart function process we want to know under the cardiac cycle. Okay, that in this video session we will know about cardiac cycle. Okay, see now look at on the screen, pointer place parunga, cardiac cycle. Why we given the name as a cardiac cycle? Here in our body several functions are happened by the repeatedly in a significant period, within time period. Okay, so here a cyclic process done in the every time by the heart. The total process we call as a cardiac cycle. Here the definition about the cardiac cycle, a beginning of one heartbeat. Now you understand. Now the secret is revealed. Cardiac cycle tells about our heartbeats. Now basically it is a sound wise we can say that, but heart will show the pumping and receiving of blood. Okay, by these heartbeats, beginning of one heartbeat to beginning of next one. Okay, what are the heartbeat names we known in the earlier classes also you studied, lub dub, that are 2. Okay, for totally lub dub, these 2 sounds combined we call the one heartbeat. Okay, so here by the heartbeat sound producing time, how the heart is showing that function of their self. Okay, itself. So the total process cardiac cycle, that only here I said statement wise, a beginning of the heartbeat to the again beginning to the next heartbeat, what are the cyclic events are done by the heart, that we called as a cardiac cycle. Okay, then see, when you take out heart, when you seen that understanding about the heart, first heart is relaxed condition. Now after relaxed condition, then heart will be exhibit these cardiac cycle by the 3 different steps. First step atrial systole, next step ventricular systole, and next one cardiac diastole. Okay, then already I said in the beginning time, heart in the form of in the stage of the normal relaxation, that we call as a joint diastole. So for your understanding wise, 4 different steps, 4 different conditions. Here first joint diastole, second one atrial systole, ventricular systole, and cardiac diastole. Systole, diastole tells about systole means contraction and diastole means extension or relaxation. So here atrial systole means atriums of heart chambers of atriums are contract. Here ventricular systole time ventricles are contract. Cardiac diastole means relaxation. Total heart will be getting a relaxation. Okay. So especially the major portion ventricles are getting relaxation. Okay. So now what are the steps is following under each and every phase that we know. So first already you got it definition of the cardiac cycle. Then come to the first stage of cardiac cycle. Here before starting about the atrial systole, first heart 4 chambers are relaxed condition. That stage we called as a joint diastole. When the heart is presented in the condition of the joint diastole, it receiving the blood from the different body parts through pulmonary veins and vena cava. Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, that both are open into the right atrium. Pulmonary veins are open into the left atrium. Correct now? So respective atriums are receiving the blood, oxygenated blood from the pulmonary veins. These veins oxygenated blood will carrying from the lungs to heart, and vena cavas are receiving the deoxygenated blood from the different body parts to totally it receiving. Which one atrias are receiving in which condition? Joint diastole time. Okay. Now paranga. Now when the heart is present in the joint diastole condition, on that time AV valves. AV valves is a shortcut form of atrioventricular valves. Atrioventricular valves ke two different names are there, that are bicapsid and tricapsid valves. Bicapsid and tricapsid valves. See here atrioventricular septa wise these valves are present in the right atrium to right ventricle, left atrium to left ventricle. These. So shortcut form atrioventricular valves. Okay. These atrioventricular valves are open condition. Okay. Then blood flow receiving the ventricles. So here just think it nana. Mala chambers, upper chambers are atriums, lower chambers are ventricles. Now upper chambers onwards received blood directly open into the ventricles. I mean it will flow into the ventricles because of atrioventricular valves are open condition. Atrioventricular valves are open condition. Then simultaneously semilunar valves are closed condition. Semilunar valves are closed condition. Okay, wow. So that is the important thing. So joint diastole time, three things you should be remember. Joint diastole time, pulmonary veins and pulmonary vena cava receiving the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from respective atriums from the different body parts. That is the first statement. Second, AV valves are open condition. Okay, by opening condition of the AV valves, blood will be open into the directly in ventricles. That is also okay. And the third statement, semilunar valves. Semilunar valves means pulmonary valve and systemic valve is there now. That two valves are closed condition. Okay, these three statements should be remembered. Joint diastole completed. Then come to the next one. Atrial systole. Atrial systole means atriums of heart will be contract. Okay, now how atrial systole will occur, sir? Here in yesterday, nodal tissues I said. Heart containing with a special muscular nodal tissues. That nodal tissues names sinoatrial node and atrioventricular node. Correct na? Sinoatrial node act as a pacemaker. Remember that this concept. So here that sinoatrial node SAN, shortcut form sinoatrial node SAN. That SAN node is generate the action potential. By that generation of the action potential, by the stimulation of that action potential, it influence the total both atriums. By these sinoatrial node action potential stimulations, both atriums are contracting. So when the both atriums are contracting time, what will happen? Blood will be drained into in the downflow, and then downflow what it is there, downside what it is there, ventriculars are there. So atrium to ventriculars blood will be enter. So totally atrial systole time it will take approximately 0.1 second time duration. It lasts about 0.1 second. Okay, and then it increase the flow of the blood into the ventricles in the 30%. Okay, this is statement you should be remember. No. Here 30% of the blood is flown by the contraction of atrial systole or atrial contraction. Now you have thought in your brain, sir, remaining blood, when will it will come from the atrium to ventricle? Already it went when the heart in the condition of joint diastole time. Because of joint diastole time, AV nodes are open condition kada. So the maximum blood already is entered into the ventricles through the AV valves when it is joint diastole condition. So forcibly remaining 30% of the blood will be sending to the ventricles from the atriums through atrial systole. That only here I mentioned. Inga partner first point atrial systole. That atrial systole sinoatrial node generate the action potential. By the action potential it is stimulate the both the atriums are contraction. It will take 0.1 second time duration, increasing the flow of the blood into the ventricles. How much blood it will flow? 30% of the blood, and remaining blood flows in the ventriculars before their atricular systole. Atricular systole before which condition is there? Joint diastole only na. So joint diastole condition itself, the maximum maximum volume of the blood will be enter into the ventricles. Okay, now first step over. Then come to the next one, ventricular systole. So here in atrial systole time, sinoatrial node generated that action potential kada. That action potential slowly moves towards of atrioventricular node, AV node. So the action potential from the sinoatrial node reach the AV node, atrioventricular node. Then that atrioventricular node to deliver that stimulations to action potential to the total ventricles with the help of the bundle of his or branches of Purkinje fibers and Purkinje fibers. Yesterday I drawn one diagram, correct na? That diagrammatic representation time SAN in the right corner of right atrium I said, correct na? So in left corner of right atrium I represented AV node. That AV node formed the bundle of his bundles. That bundle of his to form the Purkinje fibers. Purkinje fibers are travel through these interventricular septa, and then it will supplying the total action potential to the total ventricles. Okay, so this is the mechanism of supplying of action potential to the atrias and ventricles. Okay, atrias are taking the action potential from the sinoatrial node contraction, and then ventriculars taking the stimulations from contraction stimulations from the atrioventricular node onwards. Here this is the sinoatrial node, this is the atrioventricular node. Okay, then when the action potential spread out the total ventricles by these bundle of his Purkinje fibers, then it start to contraction. Ventriculars will start to contraction. Okay, that contraction wise it will take 0.3 seconds. 0.3 seconds. This 0.3 seconds. So here when the ventricular contraction time, what will happen? In the inner side of ventricle place will be reduced. So there is a chance blood will be going to the backward direction ventricle to the atriums through the atrioventricular wall, correct na? So it preventing of the backward direction, backward flow of the blood from the ventricles to atria. Here AV walls are closing, ventricular pressure increases, causing the closures of the AV walls. When the AV walls are closing, the time AV walls are closing side time they are producing one sound, that sound only lub. That sound only lub. So these walls are closing thing, it prevent the backward flow, because of backward flow of the blood from the ventricles to atria. Because of before ventricular systole, atrial systole time, ventricles are receiving the blood from the atriums only. If in the ventricular systole time, if the blood is going to ventricles to atriums, not at use. Okay, so for preventing of the backward direction of the blood from the ventricles to atriums, these AV valves are closing, atrioventricular valves. Okay na? So simultaneously semilunar valves anna theriyum kada nanna, enna valves, pulmonary arch wall and then systemic arch wall. These are present at the place of the systemic arteries, aortic arches opening into the ventricles, pulmonary arch and then systemic arch opening places, these valves are there, semilunar, I mean half moon shaped valves. So that valves are open condition, pulmonary valves are open condition, semilunar valves are open condition. So whatever it is, blood ventricles onwards, blood will be enter the aortic arches. Inga aortic arches anna meaning pulmonary artery and aorta, these two. Okay, systemic aorta simply. Okay, systemic aorta. Up to now we completed 3 stages. Here on board you seeing only 2 stages, but I explained here one more stage. Correct na? Cardiac cycle contain the 3 stages, but when the heart is relaxed condition, that we call as a joint diastole. That we have, when we consider into the one stage, one more phase will be added. Okay, joint diastole. Then joint diastole after atrial systole after ventricular systole. Now come to the next one, cardiac diastole. Joint diastole ille, cardiac diastole. This cardiac diastole time, what will happen here, ventricles will relax. Ventricles will relax. Okay, that ventricles are relaxed because of here there is no any action potential. Okay, sinoatrial node onwards, atrioventricular node onwards, there is no any action potential. Totally ventricles will getting relaxation. That only first point paranganana. Now ventricles are relaxed. In the cardiac diastole, ventricles are relaxed. Okay, ventricular pressure will fall. When the ventricles are relaxed condition, automatically the pressure of inner side of the ventricles will fall. It causing, when the ventricular's inner side pressure is fall, that will be resulting, causing the closing of the semilunar valves. Why theriyumananna? By contraction of the ventricular systole, blood will forcibly enter into the systemic artery and then pulmonary artery. Now the continuation step, cardiac diastole means ventricles are getting relaxation. That means ventricular valves will be going to the original position. So inside of the ventricles, low vacuum is there. Okay, vacuum is created, low pressure. So there is a chance to pull the blood into the inside from the arteries. Okay, aortic arches. Okay, aortic aorta onwards. Aortic arteries. Okay, pulmonary artery and systemic artery. So that pulmonary artery, systemic artery beginning places 2 valves are there, that we call as a semilunar valves. That semilunar valves will be closed. When the semilunar valve closed time, the second heart sound will produce, that is dub. First lub sound will produce when it is ventricular systole condition. That too, in the ventricular systole time, which valves are closing, Nana? Which valves are closing? AV valves are closing. Here cardiac diastole time, which valves are closing? Semilunar valves or aortic arches valves are closing. Okay, so when the aortic arches valves are closed, on the time second sound of the heart dub will be produced, and AV valves are open by pressure of atria. So these valves opening closing time, AV valves are opening. AV valves are present in between of atriums and ventricles. Correct na? So these AV valves, when it is open, automatically it creates the vacuum to pull the blood into the inside. Okay. So when the AV valves are open, that will be stimulate or influence the atriums filled with what? filled with blood. Atriums are filled with blood. So when the atriums are filled with blood, the here AV valves also not at open condition, not at open as a AV valves also open condition, not so AV valves are open. So on that open condition, directly atriums onwards blood will be enter into the ventricles. So whether you remembered or not, here already I said, when the normal condition without pressure, already some amount of the volume of the blood directly enter to the ventricles from the atriums without any pressure requirement. So here atrial systole time only 30%. That remaining blood already reach into the ventricles when the cardiac diastole time. Okay, see inga parna cardiac diastole time ventricles are relaxing. In the ventricular pressure will falls, I mean decrease agum. Then it causes the closing of the semilunar valves. Semilunar valves are present in the aortic arches, pulmonary arch and systemic arch. That valves are both are closing time. The second heart sound will be produced, that is the dub, and simultaneously AV valves will open. When the AV valves are open, in the heart inside a vacuum is created. So by the vacuum it pulls the blood inside of heart. So again through the vena cavas, superior vena cava, inferior vena cava onwards, deoxygenated blood everything will be sucked into the inside. So freely blood will be enter into the ventricles from the atrias. That atrias are collecting the blood from the appropriate veins. Okay, pulmonary veins and remaining inferior superior vena cava onwards. Finally again heart will reach a relaxed condition. That relaxed condition, first time I said, when the heart is without any functionative time. Functionative means these three phases, heart will take some little small gap. That gap we call the joint diastole. So a continuation of the cardiac diastole, a small fraction of time period, heart will get it joint diastole period condition. Okay, so here I said 0.1 second for atrial systole, ventricular systole time 0.3. Sir, you didn't said about the cardiac diastole. Now continuation time I will say 0.4. Cardiac diastole will take 0.4 second time period time. Okay, how we have to calculate? For calculation of that one, we want to understand two important things. Okay, there are two important things I will tell in the second column. Okay, see Nana, these now what I am saying that everyone knows from the lower standard, from the 6th standard onwards. For 1 minute our heart beats, how many heart beats as a general healthy human being will be expressed? Our heart will be beat at 72 times for 1 minute. Sir, exactly 72 times, that is your doubt mean? Not exactly 72 times, based on our situations. When we are doing the meditation, if it is more than 72, less than 72 times. If you are running, it is more than 72 times. Okay, basing on situations. Okay, and several hormones also later I will discuss. So for each cardiac cycle completion wise, that means for one heartbeat wise, it will take 0.8 seconds. 0.8 seconds. Now the total cardiac cycle completed within the 0.8 seconds anna, 8 seconds anna, in the 0.8 second cardiac atrial systole wise 0.1 second, ventricular systole wise 0.3 seconds. So now how much time want to necessary for cardiac diastole? 0.4 seconds. Totally 0.8 seconds anna, 0.1 second belongs to systole, cardiac systole, atrial systole, and next to ventricular systole 0.3. So still how much we want to add for completion of the cardiac cycle? Cardiac diastole wise, if you add the 0.4 seconds, it will complete the 0.8 second. So total cardiac cycle completed in the 0.8 second. Okay, then finally cardiac output. Cardiac output will tell us about the how much volume is pumped out from the ventricles. Okay, that want to tell, that want to understand blood pumped out by the each ventricle. For each ventricle, blood pumped by the, how much volume of the blood is released from the heart, okay, for each heartbeat, that means 0.8 second time duration, how much blood will be coming out from the heart, that is a stroke value, okay. Then here we calculated blood volume for one heartbeat, not for 1 minute, as like if you calculate that one for 1 minute, that will tells about cardiac output, the volume of the blood pumped out by the heart from the each ventricle for 1 minute, that is a cardiac output, First one, stroke volume, tells about the one heartbeat time duration, that means 0.8 seconds, okay. That if you calculated for 1 minute, how much blood is releasing from the heart ventricles, that volume we consider as a cardiac output. For 1 minute, for one heartbeat wise, how much blood volume is releasing from the ventricles, that we consider as a stroke volume. For mathematical understanding, cardiac output is equal to, cardiac output tells about for 1 minute, correct kadana? So cardiac output is equal to stroke volume belongs to one heartbeat wise, okay, one heartbeat wise how much blood is released out. Stroke volume into number of heartbeats, how many number of heartbeats can able to performed by the one healthy human being, 72 times. For one stroke volume wise, 70 ml of the blood will be released out from the heart. So 70 into 72 beats, okay, 70 indicates a one beating time, so we want to calculate for 72 beats heart beating time how much blood is released. So 70 into 72 totally 50-40, okay, 50-40 milliliters of for 1 minute, that means approximately 5 liters of the blood is pumped out from the ventricles for 1 minute, that volume we consider as a cardiac output. So I think so you in this video you received you understand about cardiac cycle, different steps, and then last how much volume is pumped by the heart to different body parts, and that means regarding blood, that we understand, okay, that is nothing but a cardiac output. In the next video, how cardiac cycles are controlling by the different hormones and different situations, and then arteries and veins differentiation I will be explaining in the next video. Thank you.